All right, let's talk about Chinua Achebe's masterpiece, Things Fall Apart. Now, this isn't just another book on your reading list. Oh no, you have to understand this novel is a revolutionary act. It's a calculated, deliberate literary weapon.
See, Achebe wasn't just writing a story he thought was interesting, he was firing back. He was reading novels like Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, books written by Europeans that portrayed Africa as this savage, silent, backward place. He felt that the story of his people had been stolen and twisted, and he knew he had to be the one to tell it right.
So this right here, this is the battlefield. On one side, you have the colonial stereotype, this idea of a chaotic, inhuman continent. And on the other, you have Achebe's counter-narrative. He was on a mission, really, to set the record straight and show the world the sophisticated, orderly, and deeply human civilization that was there long before the colonizers ever showed up.
And when I say deliberate, I mean every single choice was a strategic move. Every part of this novel was designed as a piece of ammunition in this fight for who gets to tell the story.
I mean, just look at the title. This is absolutely brilliant. He takes a line from a famous Western poem about the fear of civilization collapsing. By doing that, he's immediately telling his Western readers, you know that massive world-ending collapse you're so afraid of? Yeah, that already happened to us. And you were the cause. It's an incredible move.
So, how does he build this counter-narrative? Well, he doesn't just argue against the stereotypes, he shows us. He drops us right into the world of Umuofia, meticulously detailing the very society the colonizers would later call primitive.
And what we see is that Umuofia was anything but primitive. It was a fully functioning civilization. It had a complex political system, kind of like a democracy, run by respected elders. It had a formal justice system, a merit-based economy, and a really deep spiritual worldview. This was a complete and whole society.
And at the absolute center of that worldview is this idea of the chi. Think of it as your personal god, your spiritual destiny. This concept is the engine that drives our main character, Okonkwo. It's what's behind his constant, relentless fight against his own fate.
And forget about any ideas of lawless chaos. Umuofia had the Egwugu. This was their version of a supreme court, made up of masked ancestral spirits who were deeply respected. This sense of order wasn't just in law, it was in every part of life, especially their economy.
Okay, we gotta talk about yams, because in this world, the yam is not just a food, it is the king of crops. It's a symbol of masculinity, of strength, of hard work, of success. Your entire social standing as a man was basically measured by the size of your yam barn. It was the backbone of, well, everything.
And all of this brings us to the man himself, Okonkwo. He's not just some random protagonist. He is the living, breathing embodiment of his culture, all of its strengths and, tragically, all of its fatal flaws. His personal story is a perfect metaphor for the collapse of his entire world.
Okonkwo's whole personality is basically a reaction. It's built on one single, all-consuming fear. He's terrified of becoming like his father, Unoka, who he saw as a failure. And this fear twists his idea of what it means to be a man into something rigid, angry, and ultimately self-destructive.
You can just see the war inside him right here. His father was gentle, Okonkwo chose violence. His father was in debt, Okonkwo became rich. This internal battle pushes him to do horrible things, like taking part in the killing of a boy he loves like a son, all because he can't stand the thought of appearing weak.
And here's the devastating irony. That rigid, tough guy code of his leads him to accidentally kill someone, and boom, he's exiled for 7 years. And it's during that exact period away that the white missionaries arrive and everything starts to unravel. He comes back to find that the world he knew is gone and his warrior way of life is totally useless.
So what on earth happened while he was gone? Well, colonialism didn't just storm in with an army. No, it was way more insidious than that. It was a systematic attack that dismantled the Igbo culture piece by piece, from the inside out.
You can really think of it as a three-front war. They didn't just attack one thing, they went after and replaced every single pillar of the society. Their ideology, their system of justice, and their economy. All of it was targeted for replacement.
And the strategy was just brutally effective. The missionaries were clever. They converted the outcasts of Igbo society first, creating deep divisions within the clan. The new colonial court didn't bother with tradition, it just imposed its own laws, and the new cash economy made the old way of life built on yams and honor seem pointless.
Which brings us to the novel's absolutely shattering conclusion. This is where Achebe lands his final, most powerful punch about who really controls history.
Okonkwo makes one last, desperate, violent stand. He tries to rally his people to fight back, but they don't. The will is gone. And in that moment, he realizes it's over. The world he fought his whole life to dominate has completely vanished.
And then comes the final insult. The district commissioner, the man who represents this whole destructive force, looks at Okonkwo's body and thinks to himself that the story of this man might make for a decent paragraph in the book he's writing. A paragraph after everything we've seen.
And the title of that book, this is Achebe's mic drop moment, The Pacification of the Primitive Tribes of the Lower Niger. That title says it all. It shows the colonial mindset perfectly, to erase a huge, complex human tragedy and rebrand it as a simple story about taming savages. Things Fall Apart exists to be the real story, the one the commissioner was completely blind to.
And that's the question that just hangs in the air after you finish the book. Achebe shows us that the fight for land, for power, for resources, it's always a fight for the narrative itself. The power to tell your own story isn't just power, it's everything.